Hello, welcome to Passion Fruit. In this video, we're going to go over how to do question number 2 from the 2024 APCSA exam. Now, if you haven't tried doing this question yet on your own, I highly encourage you to do so on Passion Fruit. If you need help, you can ask the AI tutor questions like, how do I do this? And after you're done writing the code, you can check your answer to get it instantly graded based on actual College Board scoring guidelines. All right. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's read the question together. So this question involves a scoreboard for a game. The game is played between two teams who alternate turns. During a turn, a team makes one or more plays. They can score one or more points during a turn. And if the play fails, in which case no points are scored, then the team's turn ends. And the scoreboard class, which we will write, is used to keep track of the score in a game. All right, so if you've seen our other videos, you know that we like to break these down by first taking note of all the different methods and variables that we're going to use. Then we can write out some pseudocode before turning it into actual Java. So from this first paragraph, we already know that we're going to need to write a scoreboard class, which will likely contain variables like team names and scores, and also we need to keep track of whose turn it is. So I'll just set this up by writing the class. That way we don't ever have to go back to read this first paragraph again. All right, let's keep it going. So it has a constructor and two methods. Great. Constructor has two parameters. The first parameter is the name of team 1 and then the name of team 2. So this tells us that we're going to need to create a few variables. We're going to definitely need a team 1 name and then a team 2 name. And these are going to be strings. So I'll just make sure we do that. And then let's see. The game always begins with team 1 as the active team. So we're going to want to keep track of who is the active team. So I'll just maybe create a variable called active team, and then we can make this an integer. And so it's either going to be a 1 or a 2. All right. The first method, record play, has a single non-negative integer parameter that is equal to the number of points scored, or 0 if the play failed. If the play results in 1 or more points scored, then the active team score is updated. All right, so this tells us that we're going to need scores for each team. So I'll call team 1 score and then maybe team 2 score as variables. Great. And record play does not return a value. Makes sense. Get score. Looks like the get score method returns a bunch of our current variables put together, but it doesn't require us to create any new variables. So I think this is all we need. All right. Now, as always, let's turn this into Java. So when we declare variables, we have to make it either public or private. In this case, we're going to make everything private because we don't want other classes messing with our variables, right? We only want the methods within the scoreboard class to be able to edit the values of these variables. So we're going to make this private. And if these are all integers, we can actually just do this. All right. I think that's all we need. Awesome. Let's work on the constructor. So the constructor takes two parameters. So we'll make this a public constructor because we need other people to be able to use the scoreboard class. And it takes two strings. We'll just call it team 1, team 2 in terms of the inputs. And then we're going to have to assign these values to the variables that we just created. And it also says that the active team is always 1 initially. It doesn't specify exactly what the starting scores should be, but I think we can assume for now it'll be 0. All right. I think that is our constructor. Let's move on. So we have to write this method record play. Let's just set this up. we know that the record play method does not return a value, so we can do void, and record play takes points. All right, now we can maybe think about what is actually going to go inside this record play method. So based on the question, we can essentially say, there's going to be a case of, first we need to check whether or not the team scored a point, and depending on if they scored, then we either will add points to their score, or we will make the other team active. So I can say, just in the pseudocode, let's first check if points were scored. So if no points were scored, what would happen? If no points were scored, then we will switch the active team to the other team. Else, so this is if points were scored, we're going to check which team is active, and then we're going to add points to that active team. All right, seems simple enough. This is really our pseudocode. I'm going to give us some more space. All right, so that's really it. Now we can turn this into Java. So no points were scored. If no points were scored, then we can say points is equal to 0, and that'll be our if statement. Now, if no points were scored, we need to switch the active teams to the other team. So how do we do this? Well, we can first check which team is active, and then we can say, like, for example, if the active team is equal to 1, then we will turn the active team into 2. Else, active team becomes 1. That makes sense, right? And then this latter portion, check which team is active. So it's going to be kind of similar here. So we're going to check which is the active team, and then we're going to add points to that team's score. So if the active team is equal to 1, then we will say team 1 score will get these points. Else, team 2 score will get these points. Boom. All right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And there we have it. That's record play. Moving on. Get score method has no parameters. All right, so we have public, let's see, it takes no parameters, but it does return a string. So we have to say public string get score, no parameters. Now let's see what it actually wants us to do. We need to return a string beginning with the score of team 1, hyphen, team 2, hyphen, and then the name of the team that is currently active. All right, so maybe let's set up the first part, because the first part is not conditional. So we can just say the first part of this, we're going to first create a string. We can call it result. It's going to be the score of team 1 plus the hyphen, and then the score of team 2 plus another hyphen. And then we're going to need to conditionally add the team of the team name of the active team. So I will skip writing the pseudocode because I think this is pretty straightforward and it's the last part. So we just have to say, again, similar to above, check which one is the active team. If the active team is 1, then I will append the name of team 1 to result. And otherwise, we will append team 2 name to the result. And we can't forget, at the end of it all, we have to return the result. All right. I think that's all we need. We have our two methods, our constructor. Let's check our answer. Fun fact, this question was the easiest one according to the score distributions for the 2024 exam. Question 2 generally does not have a part A or a part B, and so it's a very long question, but hopefully not too hard. Look at that, 9 out of 9. Easy peasy. All right, well, again, if you haven't checked it out yourself, check out Passion Fruit. Feel free to do FRQs. We also have a bunch of multiple choice questions, so get your practice on. All right, see you next time.